Hey, my Playdate peeps. Welcome back to another bite-sized boost of brilliance on Workday Playdate, where we help people leaders like you sprinkle a little play, a lot of purpose, and a dash of improv into your 9 to 5. I'm your host, Erin, keynote speaker, recovering people pleaser, and your favorite chief energy officer here at Improve It, the company I run. So this month, we are diving into the theme of time management, but today we're taking a different route to get there because let's be real, managing your calendar doesn't matter if you're constantly saying yes to things you don't want to do. So today's episode, we're talking about stopping the people pleasing and starting to lead with clarity and confidence because you deserve to protect your time, your energy, and your peace. Amen. Amen. So just a quick little cliff note before we jump into the show. Today's show will have some swear words, some cussing, whatever you want to call it, some dirty words. So if you have little ones running around, grab your headphones and put those in for us or your earbuds. So here's the deal. A lot of us weren't taught how to set boundaries, especially if you grew up being praised for being easygoing or helpful or flexible, or my personal fave, the reliable one. And guess what? That people-pleasing behavior follows us right into the workplace where it shows up as saying yes to last-minute asks, working late because you don't want to disappoint, avoiding hard conversations, and pretending to be okay when you're totally not. Enter our amazing guest today, Amy Green Smith. Now, Amy is a leadership coach, a master hypnotherapist, and keynote speaker with over 20 years of experience helping women ditch burnout and take back their power. She created the Worthy Method, a super transformational framework for Gen X and Xennial leaders who are externally successful but internally exhausted. She's been featured over 140 times, hosted a podcast with nearly 2.5 million downloads, and fun fact, builds Halloween animatronics with her husband. Animatronics, that's how you say that, like actual robots. Spooky and spectacular. So before we jump into the convo, I just want to say, if you've ever felt guilty for protecting your time, if you've ever resented a yes you gave too quickly, or if you're dreading a conversation that could actually set you free, we see you. Here's what the data says. 63% of employees report burnout from poor boundaries around time and workload. 70% of women leaders say they've taken on tasks outside of their role just to keep the peace. And research from the University of California says people pleasers waste an average of 3 to 5 hours a week doing tasks they didn't want to do in the first place. Amen. So if time management is the outer layer, confidence and boundaries are the cake underneath. And today we are slicing right into it. Let's get in today's Playdate with Amy Green Smith. Okay, Amy, I'm already feeling this.
Yeah.
I'm already excited. We already have, as the corporate world would say, some synergies. I hate this word. Synergies. What, first and foremost, is an intention that you would like to call in or receive as we go through today? We're talking about on the show time management this month. So it could be about time management, or it could just be anything that comes to mind for you, knowing what you're here to talk about today.
Whew. Well, I know we're going to be discussing people pleasing. And my first thought was, I want the intention that I have is for the folks who are listening. And you have a cute name for them. I forget the name.
The peeps. Oh, Amy, you're the best.
The peeps.
The peeps.
That's right.
Yes.
I always call them the pod people. So, okay, the peeps. I love it. Or the podience.
Oh, the audience. Okay, I haven't heard that one. I like that. I'm going to throw that in there someday.
So I'm thinking for all the peeps out there that I want everyone to understand that there's a very real human reason why we people please, and that it's not a you failure. It is a systems failure in how we are conditioned to take care of everybody else. So my intention is that there will be sort of a paradigm shift around this topic that we're talking about today.
Oh my God, I love it. We'll call it paradigm shift. Paradigm shift
Okay.
with people pleasing. Lots of alliteration. Paradigm shift with people pleasing. But I love that. And
For the
I
peep.
with the P, lots of P's for the peeps. So okay, let me ask you this. So let's just dig right in. I want to just start off, and I'm a recovering people pleaser. So I told you before we hit record, I was like, selfishly, I need this episode. Like, let's dive in. But for you, what's something you used to say yes to that now gets a big fat no? Like, what's something that you have just eliminated?
Gosh, it's been so long since I've done anything that I don't want to do.
Yes.
I mean, it's been a long ass time, but I'll tell you, you know what? My thing these days is that I refuse to take up less spiritual space than other people simply because I'm an agnostic atheist. So I have a real bee in my bonnet about, I live in the South now, so that I say shit like that. I have a bee in my bonnet about us giving so much space to one particular religion, being Christianity. And so, and I have a sort of a sordid background with that, but I refuse to give space to everyone else to experience that faith and then not be able to talk about summer solstice or my astrological sign or the spirit guides or what no. If I need to hear about laying on of hands and raising up and bless you and all of that, you are also going to hear about summer solstice. And you are also going to hear about being a Taurus with, a moon in Capricorn and a Scorpio rising.
I mean, I just got full freaking body chills. Okay, you told me we had things in common. We have so many things in common. First of all, I'm a Taurus. Okay. Second,
Oh, cool.
Okay, where do you live in the South?
I feel like it's wannabe South, but it technically is North Carolina. I'm in Charlotte.
Okay, I'm in Charleston, South Carolina.
Oh, perfect. You're super close.
What? Okay. And then we also have the same speaking coach. We both love Jane. Shout out to Jane, who's been on the show. Love her so much.
Yep.
And then also, I'm a spiritual human being and I live in the South. And I feel you so hard on this. Like, so hard. So hard. Grew up as a Christian, going to a Presbyterian church. And found a faith of my own understanding along the way.
That's right.
So I applaud you and I love that. And I'm so glad I asked that question. I freaking love the answer so much. So, okay. So let's talk about your worthy method because I was intrigued by this. So you created this after your own burnout breakdown. So can you give us like the short version of your I'm done moment and what led to the worthy method?
Ooh, absolutely, I can. So, speaking of sort of some difficult upbringing issues, mine started in this realm of faith, traditions, and religion. So, for context, I grew up in a very conservative, born again Christian family. My father had a master's of divinity and a doctorate of ministry, so he wasn't fucking around. And so I really was, and I was this queer kid who was trying to understand why that was such an abomination and knew very clearly that I wasn't allowed to go down that path at all. And so I had gotten into this very habitual way of twisting and contorting and putting up a veneer or, some sort of false front with my parents. And so I moved out when I was fairly young and got married young. And so whenever my partner and I would go visit my parents, I would tell him like, okay, no cussing, no Jon Stewart, no South Park, like no liberal agenda, none of that. Like we have to, put up this veneer. And it all kind of came to a head in '07 when my father passed away. And I knew because I had a history of speaking and teaching and also a history in makeup artistry that I wanted to do the makeup for his viewing. So we've reached the dead dad makeup portion of the, the conversation.
I've never had this one before, but I like it. I like where it's going.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever met anybody else who has, to be honest. But so I do makeup on my father's corpse. I speak to a crowd of hundreds of people who were there. And I feel like I'm winning at daughter that day. We get back home to my mom's house and she finds it the most opportune time to tell me that she feels as though my father and her had failed as parents because the three of us, grouping me in with my two siblings, were not, quote, walking with the Lord. We're not subscribed to the faith traditions we were raised with. And mind you, for a little juxtaposition, both of my siblings had done jail time, didn't go to school. One of them was in his 30s, still living at home. And I'm like, I put myself through college. I've been working since I was 14. I just did dead dad makeup. And now you're going to group me in with them and tell me that I'm a disappointment. And I'll tell you what, Erin, that was a really pivotal moment for me because up until then, I had gotten so good at shapeshifting.
Yeah.
And that was when something cracked. And the only thing that I could kind of muster in that moment was to say to her, I don't think you should say that to a child. And she said, well, that's just how I feel. And I realized that most of the time, speaking up for yourself, which is antithetical to people pleasing, right? If we're people pleasing, we're not speaking up. Most of the time, speaking up for yourself, establishing a boundary, it's not that big of an ultimatum, right? It's not you or me. However, if I do get placed in a situation where I have to decide between making you happy or making me happy, like I was in with my mom, I was going to choose me.
That's it.
And that was the first time that I really said, you know what? You get to carry that disappointment. If you are disappointed in the woman that I am, knock yourself out because I am not. And then I'll tell you what, though, the floodgates were opened and I became so combative, so adversarial. And it wasn't until many, many moons later, and this has really, kind of fed into the work that I do with the Worthy method, is that you don't have to be bitter and acrimonious and rude in order to get your point across. You can speak your truth with grace and kindness. And it took many times of me having to walk back my delivery, how I said something, that I, had to say to my mom, like, hey, listen, I still feel very strongly about what we conversed about, but I should never have said it in that manner. And you didn't deserve to be spoken to in that way. So instead of, we a lot of times will have sort of that confidence hangover and like take it all back.
Yeah.
Because we can't stand the idea of somebody not being happy with us. Instead, I had to learn to take back just the delivery and not take back my stance, my opinions, my needs. And that completely changed the work that I do in the world. So kind of to distill it down, the whole essence of that Worthy method is twofold. It's this internal element of believing in your own intrinsic value, your own self-worth, and then the external method of what does that sound like then to say no to things, to have tough conversations, to ask adult children to move out of the house, to ask for a divorce, to tell your subordinate that they're not living up to what they signed on for, and there's disciplinary action. All of those things, they are wildly uncomfortable for us, but it's possible to show up in those situations in a way in which you're proud.
I love it. Amy, preach. Okay, we need this work. We need this work. We need this work. I'm clapping. There's a standing ovation. Okay, so two things that come up for me when I hear you say these things. The first is I feel like you're unapologetic, which is a theme that is like kind of coming up in my own life, but you're unapologetic about who you are. And then you're holding people accountable and not taking on the emotions of the person who is upset. You are holding them accountable for their own feelings while taking yours into consideration and being unapologetic about your needs first. Is that right?
Okay. Well, I think you can't dismiss what your intention is. So
yeah.
I'll give you an example. my mom, I can imagine that it is unbelievably difficult for her to believe something so wholeheartedly and then to have raised children to believe that same thing and then for them to not subscribe to that anymore. So she had come to me at one point and I needed to really draw a firm line and boundary with some of the invites and things that she was throwing my way. And so I said that to her. I said, listen, I need you to know that I find it really disrespectful that you know where I stand and you continue to invite me to these various events. And I can also imagine how unbelievably difficult that is for you. I know that it is heartbreaking for you, but I need you to know my intent. And I also need you to know that that goes both ways.
Yeah.
That I'm not coming from a place of intending harm to you. I'm not trying to cause pain. What I'm doing is standing in my own authenticity and what's true for me. And here's what I can promise you is that if I ever change my mind, you will absolutely be the first person to know. But I would like the same respect for my beliefs that I am giving to you.
I love it.
And that's it. Right. And I'm not screaming. I'm not yelling. I'm not making her wrong. I'm using empathy. I'm using vulnerability, but I'm also standing in that assertiveness of you get to carry that. If you want to carry the weight of my soul, knock yourself out. I'm not bothered.
There you go.
I'm not.
There you go. Let them, as Mel Robbins would say, let them, right? Let them do it. Let them carry it. We have so many similarities, Amy. This is like my life is unfolding on this show right now. But truly, like you sharing that story and just sharing your own authentic truth, I feel like gives a lot of people power in their own lives. So thank you for sharing that. Cause I know that's I share stories too. And sometimes they're not triggering, but sometimes they can be. So thank you for sharing that because I'm sure it brings up some things for you. So, okay. I want to talk about a 3-step process that you have to establish boundaries in the workplace. Okay. Can you break it down for us? Bonus points if you give us a metaphor. I know you've done some acting in your day. If you relate it to improv, even better. But do you? What is your 3-step process? Because I love the personal side. Like I have a similar. Your story is my story. Okay. So a similar thing with my own family. But let's say at work, we're people pleasing. We're giving to the leaders. We're not setting boundaries. We're working day and night. We're responding to texts and emails at all hours. What's your 3-step process to not do that?
Yeah, I can absolutely give you an example too. So the 3 steps are decide, deliver, and enforce. And there are a couple of key metrics for each of these statements. So the decide piece, this is going to be sort of your gearing up process. This is where you decide exactly what it is that you want to give voice to. You write it all down. And the most important piece of this is specificity.
Yeah.
Okay? So, for example, if you're at work and you feel like your boss is micromanaging you, if you say, you're micromanaging me, it's like, well, what the fuck does that mean? It's really ambiguous. It's not specific. What you would want to detail in your deciding piece would be the specific project that I'm working on or the reports that you want every single Thursday that you ask me about on Wednesday, right? That's the thing that I need to give voice to. And, in a personal context, it's like if somebody says, I need more romance, well, what the fuck does that mean? Do you want me to initiate sex? Right. So we need that specificity, no matter what the context is. The deliver piece, this is the most involved because this is how we actually go into the conversation. One of the biggest pieces of advice I can give you here is to use vulnerability and not in a way that is unsafe because not everybody is safe to be vulnerable with. But when you go into a conversation, guns blazing, ready to fight, you are indignant, you are righteous about how you've been wronged, that will immediately conjure up the defense mechanisms on the other person's behalf. So if you go in with any type of softness, John Gottman would call it a soft start. You go into the conversation saying like, hey, listen, thank you so much for sitting down with me. or, I know we've been, having some difficulty around this specific project. And I'm sure you want to rectify this. I certainly do. And I just want to be transparent with you about sort of the impact that it's had on me, because I'm sure it's not your intent. All of that statement is vulnerable.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, oh my God, I stole from the liquor store when I was 8 years old. And we're not talking about vulnerability like that.
Yeah.
We're talking about just saying what's real without having this massive wall in front of you.
Love it.
Okay.
Love it.
So we're deciding. Go ahead.
No, sorry. So you're deciding. Then after you decide, you're delivering. But let me just tell you, when you just gave, and I know we have a third one, but I just want to stop real quick, because when you gave me that example with vulnerability, I was like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. Like, absolutely. I hear you. I see you. I feel you. But if you were to give me that same delivery with, like you said, I am so pissed. You've been asking me for this project on Wednesday, and it's always due by Thursday, and you just stop doing it. There's such a difference in the delivery. I'm automatically, as the receiver, open to having a really productive conversation with you and feeling and hearing and understanding you. So I love that. Okay, keep going. Give me 3. Give me number 3.
Well, let me just say something about that too, is a lot of times, if you are the person who does not speak up, who doesn't say, hey, this is an untenable amount of work on my plate, the other party, the natural logic on the other person's behalf is, I'm sure if it was that big of a deal to Erin, she would have said something.
Right.
Usually they're not dumping all of this stuff on your plate because they want to make your life hell. A lot of times it's because you are the easiest yes. And they're spinning their wheels with what their boss is coming down on them with. They're just trying to, okay, well, I know Erin always says yes. And sometimes they think that it is because you want to control the way things are done because you have a very specific way, right? Like, oh, Erin prefers to do it.
Yeah.
Or that it's super easy for you because you've never been a squeaky wheel.
Right.
So they just think, give it to Amy, give it to Erin, give it to whoever, Susan in accounting. Give it to her, right?
I always use Susan in accounting. I love you, Amy. Like, this is so, like, we are literally kindred spirits. Okay, keep going.
I know you did. I know it was a deep cut. So that's why I brought that up.
Yes. You're so good. You're so good. I love it. Okay, keep going. Keep going.
Okay. So we have to remember that a lot of times that anger and that fervor of like, they're walking all over me, they're dumping on me, they're da-da-da. We have to ask ourselves, have we even given them the opportunity to be what we need? Or have we just been stewing in our complaints and our victimhood, not even realizing that we're subjugating ourselves to victimhood? So then we go into the third step, which is enforcing. And this is really difficult because usually if we've been used to acquiescing and people pleasing, if we actually get up our muster to go in and have a tough conversation, the enforcement piece, we're like, oh, no, I'm done. Why didn't they just listen to me? But let me tell you, most people, again, it's not ill-intended. They're just used to the people-pleasing version of you.
That's right.
So they'll just go back into give it to Amy, give it to Erin. So that's when you have to enforce and say, oh, hey, maybe I wasn't super clear about the Smith Jones project that we're working on. I just wanted to circle back, right? Use the vernacular. I wanted to just circle back and say, it's untenable for me to focus on this one and, the Beecham project. I really think it would be important if we, fill in the blanks, whatever the grievance is, but reminding them of what you said. I'll give you an example. So I have a client named Jenna, and she would speak up, but she would speak up in a way that she couldn't be heard. So she's a nurse practitioner and she works in a really demanding oncology ward. And her direct supervisor would give her all the things because she was phenomenal at it. I call it being penalized for being excellent.
Oh,
because if you I have a friend who says I'm a victim of my own awesomeness.
Yeah.
But it's essentially when you're so competent, but you don't speak up about the workload and the labor, people think just give it to them, right? So she would speak up, but she would do it whilst being passive aggressive or making a joke. So it would sound something like, oh, sure, just give it to Jenna. Jenna will always handle it, blah, blah, blah. And again, that natural logic on behalf of her supervisor is going to be, I'm sure if it was a really big deal, Jenna wouldn't be joking about it.
Yeah.
I'm sure she would actually have a sit down with me, right? And we think, how can you not see what you're doing? No, everybody's in their own world.
Yeah.
They're just trying to handle their own level of tasks, and they're going to use the path of easiest resistance. So I started noticing in our conversations, in our sessions, she was getting more and more burnt out. She was getting more and more resentment. And then when she would come back from a vacation, she was just engulfed with dread of going into her workplace.
Sure.
So we started talking about the specific grievances, the things that she wanted rectified. And we completely changed the approach. We decided on the specific elements that needed to change. We talked about the deliver piece, which was going to be enveloped by a lot of vulnerability. And so she rolled into the conversation. And this is another little hack that you can use, is to say something like, I'd like to think that I make this look really easy. I'd like to think that I could be the go-to person for every scenario. But what I have to be really transparent about is that this is not sustainable for me to carry this level of project, blah, blah, blah. As much as I would like to, I'm not capable of that. That's vulnerable right there.
Yeah.
Another element of vulnerability could be, and you know what? I've been kind of silently suffering, and you would have no idea how big of a deal this is to me. And that's on me.
Yeah.
So I apologize for not bringing this up to you earlier. But what I need you to hear is, and basically she spelled out, I love working here. I love the people, but this body of labor that I am taking on, all the specific elements, is not something that's tenable, and I am willing to look elsewhere. And then boom, he changed his tune. Why? Because he could hear her.
Yes.
She spoke in a way that was specific, that was vulnerable, and that she came with remedies. Here's what I suggest we do about this, and that. One of the specific things she wanted changed was he would routinely copy her on emails that she had nothing to do with that process. And it would drive her nuts because it felt like he was looping her into things that weren't her job responsibility. So he was really good for a long time. And then he breached the boundary and copied her an email that wasn't relevant. So she had to enforce. So she goes back and she goes, oh, hey, just a quick reminder, per our conversation.
There it is.
Right?
There it is.
Per my last email and other ways to say fuck off.
Yep.
In a professional way.
Yep.
Yeah. So she said, yeah, hey, circling back to our conversation, I just want to reiterate that I no longer need to be CC'd on these, and he immediately was like, thank you so much for the reminder. You're right. My bad. So often we are speaking up, but we're speaking up either in a way in which we can't be heard, or we're speaking up to the wrong party. Like Jenna telling me over and over again. And I'm like, okay, but have you told him?
Right. Jenna, okay. First of all, I have a Jenna on my team. So these similarities just keep happening. Okay.
I love it.
Hey, my Playdate peeps. Sorry to interrupt the show, but I had to talk to you about something really cool we have going on at Improve It. Are you drowning in to-do lists, double book meetings, and the occasional calendar cry session? Well, it's time to take back your time with our brand new workshop, Time Management Productivity with Purpose. That's a tongue twister. Try saying that 5 times fast. Productivity with purpose, productivity with purpose, productivity with purpose. You get the idea. Now, in just 2 hours in person for up to 100 peeps or 90 minutes virtually for up to 50 peeps, we'll ditch the burnout and bring the focus through improv-inspired activities that help you stop time wasters, prioritize what actually matters, and master the art of time blocking like a boss. You'll leave with a plan, a pep in your step, and probably a laugh or two. Time is your most valuable asset. Let's make it work for you. Visit learntoimproveit.com to book for your team today, and let's turn chaos into clarity. It's learn to improve it, words are hard.com We'll see you there. Okay, decide, deliver, enforce. It sounds like everything you just described, so wonderful in theory. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, how can I put this into practice, right? So if you're a people pleaser, and let's just say hypothetically, I'm talking for a friend here. Amy, it's me. Okay, the people pleaser is me. Let's just say you are a people pleaser, okay? And you are really struggling with just even deciding what you need. Like, how do you even allow, like how you got to that place with your mom? Like you decided I have needs. How do you get even to the decision factor so you know your needs matter? Because I think, and what I don't think, what I know, as Oprah says, what I know for sure is that as a human being, as a spiritual being having a human experience, as I know you understand, I know I matter, but as a people pleaser, I tend to put other people's needs before me. So how do I even get to that decision phase to say, no, my needs matter? How do you get, what can we do? Tell the people.
Brilliant question. The easiest place to look is your emotions, because your emotions are messaging. So one of the things that I oftentimes will tell people when they say, well, how do I even know what boundary to establish? What do you chronically complain about? What pisses you off? And I'm talking about cyclically, not just a one-off experience that you need to vent. Who are the people? What are the situations that perseverate in your mind that you constantly bitch about, maybe to your partner when it's really your boss that needs to hear it? What are those things that you can't stop thinking about, or that have that emotional current where you're frustrated, you're overwhelmed, you're pissed, you are sad, you feel ignored? Those emotions are there to tell you something. They're there to say, hey, bitch, pay attention. This isn't going well. This doesn't sit well with you when you are spoken to in this way, or when this person assumes that you're going to pick up the slack. So we can have multiple entry points. One of the most powerful entry points is how you feel, just your emotions. If you feel like shit every time you engage with one particular coworker or subordinate or boss, that is messaging for you. It is likely that there is a boundary opportunity there. That is your intuition throwing up signs saying, please pay attention. But usually we do what I call the cognitive override, where we go, oh, I think I'm just being too sensitive. I think I'm asking for too much. I'm overthinking it. Ugh. No, listen to those emotions. They are there for a reason. The other thing that I'll say is you don't have to believe that you deserve to speak up in order to speak up, right? You don't. There are multiple ways to start embodying that belief. One way is through behavior. So even if you have a hard time with the thought work or the belief work of I'm deserving of having a voice, or I deserve to have my needs met, or worthy of having my needs met, behave as though you do. So instead of being like, I've got to believe this before I go do it. No, just go do it.
Yeah.
Just say, okay, if I were to play the part, if I was watching myself on a screen or on a stage, how would I have to behave to go, oh, that chick is super confident. That chick knows that her voice matters. That chick knows how to say what's up at work. What do I have to do? How do I have to behave? And you literally script it. I can't tell you how many times I've written out literal scripts of things that I want to say. Courage cannot exist without fear. So if you are hoping that you're going to get to this place where you have zero worry, zero anxiety, zero fear of going and having a difficult conversation, you're going to be waiting a lifetime.
Yeah.
Even when you have the astute skill, I've been teaching this for 20 years. I have this skill set and I'm still nervous every time, but every time I have fear. it's an opportunity for courage. You
There
can't be
you go.
courageous without fear.
There you go. Okay, I freaking love it. Okay, there's so many things I want to dive in because I just want to touch on this. You know, in your body too. I love you said your emotions. Your emotions for me, when I know it's a sticky situation and I know that I'm going to have to make some decisions before I deliver, right? I am feeling it in my body. Like literally I get like my chest
Yes.
feels tight, my back, my shoulders get tight. So like if you're tuning into your emotions and you're not really sure what you're feeling, really tune into your body too, I feel like. And then the second thing is really true about the fear part. That was so helpful for you to say, I've been doing this for 20 years and I still get nervous because it's all a part of our learning opportunity here. We're all here
That's right.
to fulfill some assignment, right? So
That's right.
as we're filling that assignment here in Earth School, we're going to have awkward moments because that's like the whole point, right? We're here to learn these lessons. And so as a recovering people pleaser, this spoke to my soul today, Amy. So
Nice.
I truly, is there anything that you want to say to the peeps? Because there are a lot of them out there. When I talk about people pleasing on the show, everybody raises their hand and they say, it's me. Because we carry a lot. And I will say gender neutral, like we have, I know all different types of human beings for people pleasers.
Yep.
But as a woman, myself, there's like such a load there that I feel like I carry. Anything that you feel like we didn't touch on that the peeps need to know?
Yeah, I do. I'm so glad you asked that because there's actually nuance to people pleasing. And shocker, I know this is like surprising. It is not always a bad thing. It is actually an iteration of our fawn response. So we're all familiar with fight, flight, freeze. Well, fawn is a new sort of concept that's been talked about lately. And the idea is that in the face of an aggressor, a captor, some sort of imminent threat, that let's say we're about to be attacked by a mountain lion, to fawn in the face of that mountain lion might be, oh, here's some food, kitty, 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 go over there. Like, oh, everything. We're placating, we're acquiescing.
Yeah.
Well, there's a real reason why that can help you stay out of trouble. I think many of us women, or if you're femme presenting or socialized as a woman, you know what that is like to placate a man so that you don't get roofied or don't get murdered. That is a way in which we use that people pleasing to actually stay safe. So I think the discernment piece here is to recognize, when am I people pleasing because I actually need that self-preservation? And when am I people pleasing to outsource my self-worth? There's a distinction between those two.
Amy, I'm getting real close to my microphone. Amy. Damn. Okay, hit. That hit really hard. That hit.
In the workplace, it can get a little convoluted because we need our bosses, our subordinates, our coworkers. We need them sometimes to like us, to approve of us, so that we can still be favorable for the promotion or we can put food on our table. There's an element of self-preservation, but there's almost always tethered to that some situation of outsourcing our self-worth. And sometimes the way, I'm just going to drop this bomb and walk away, is when our bosses, our co-parts, our subordinates remind us of a primary caregiver.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this boss is a lot like how my dad was or how my mom was. And now we are starting to want to glean, looking at them almost like a do-over of maybe I can glean this love and approval from them in a way that we didn't get from our primary caregivers. So it's complicated is what I'm saying. So for the love of all things holy, please, please, please be gentle with yourself. We are primitively designed to fight for our survival. If we see some sort of threat, whether it's somebody not approving of us or an actual mountain lion, we are going to try to save ourselves no matter what that looks like. So please just give yourself compassion. I mean, that's the whole reason why we have Maslow's hierarchy of needs, needing belonging. That stems from our primitive ancestors that needed to belong to a group to survive. So we are wired to seek this approval. So know that, and also know that we have now this brilliant consciousness of thought and vast opportunity to discern, oh, I see. I'm trying to get that approval because I don't believe that I'm worthy, or that is outsourcing my self-worth.
Oh my God, Amy! I want to have you here forever. I feel like we could go on. This could be like a series, okay? Because it's so
I do
good.
that sometimes. I'm happy to do it. I would love to.
And truly, people pleasing is something, I know it's one of my life assignments to rewire that brain a little bit. And I'm doing it. I am doing it. So this conversation was so helpful to me. And I know our peeps are going to love it. Okay. First, I have two last questions. Last question. Where can our peeps find you? Tell them all the places, because they're going to want to find you and get your expert advice. Where can they find Amy Greensmith?
So where I would send them is go over to my site, which is amygreensmith.com. And all of those names are spelled the basic bitch way, nothing exciting. Green like the color. I was such an eccentric child. I wanted to spell Amy so differently, but I was thwarted. So amygreensmith.com. And there is a freebie over there. It's essentially like a mini course. It's called Boundaries Over Burnout.
Okay.
And it's a private podcast series. It's 6 episodes and it has a corresponding workbook that goes along with it. So go over there. That's the best place to get to know me, my work, get some free shit, learn some stuff, and yeah, come hang out.
Okay. amygreensmith.com. Okay, green like the color. And the other question is, okay, this is what I ask all of our guests. Oh my God, did you see that? My eyelash just got stuck together. You can't see that, listeners, but literally these aren't real eyelashes. They were like, my last question is, how are you going to make today more playful? What are you going to do for you?
One of my favorite sort of games to play with myself to play or gamify a work assignment is to see how fast I can do it. Ooh. So I will set a timer.
Yeah.
Like, especially if it's something that I'm like, I don't want to do this. And it's kind of laden with, I will set a timer and be like, okay, let's see how fast we can go. And I'll usually set, if it's appropriate, I will set music that really inspires me or helps me. And I'll also light incense. So I try to start creating a different
vibe
environment.
Yes.
Yeah. So that I'm changing the energy, I'm changing what's going on, and then I can fly through the task a little bit faster.
Okay, you just inspired me. I also do this too, but I usually try to do like the Pomodoro timer and see how far, then take a little break. But I'm going to do that. Light a candle, burn some incense, burn some stuff. Not your house, but burn some stuff. Okay.
That's right.
Well, Amy, it's been such a fun play date. I could play with you forever, like for real. So we're going to stay in touch, and we live close to each other. So if I'm in Charlotte, you're in Charleston, you have to come. But the peeps are so grateful you stopped by. Thank you so much. And we will have you back. This is part 1. We'll come back to part 2 down the road. Okay.
It's a date. It's a play date.
Yes. See you then. Amy. Yeah. She's a truth teller, a boundary boss, and officially a Workday Playdate MVP. Thank you for dropping so much wisdom and fun today. Okay, my peeps, your homework this week is to pick one situation where you normally default to yes. It could be a reoccurring meeting, a favor, a quick Slack reply. Then I want you to ask yourself, if I was leading from confidence, what would I say or do differently? Write it out. Practice it. And if you're feeling bold, say it out loud. That's your homework. That's today's show. Until next time, protect your peace, speak with power, and don't forget to play.